I guess it depends on your background, what the words mission statement conjures up in your mind. But what we were thinking about in the home ed team is not just the how of how we home educate, the philosophy, I guess, what we share with the LA when they ask us and so on, but more the why of why we home ed. And so I'm genuinely sitting down to figure that out in front of you. It's a good job that I'm a verbal processor, because hopefully that will help. But I've got the resource that the Twinkl team came up with. It just gives some questions to think through. I brought up the whiteboard from my basement because I like to see things in kind of a big space. I've got my cup of tea, as always. And of course, I've thought about this kind of thing a lot before. I've even come up with little statements that help me, but I haven't done it quite in this structured way. But what I'm really hoping for is to end up with a sentence that sums up the why of home ed, that's going to apply to the smallest choices of our day and the biggest themes of our home ed lives. That's the hope anyway. And yep, I'm going to do it with you now to try and figure out and see what this looks like, what kind of pitfalls we might and probably end up in as we go through this. So let's do this. So step one, before you can write a clear, concise summary of your mission, you need to consider your response to the following questions. So there are 7 questions here, and I think I'm just going to go through them quickly. I have given myself a time limit for this. Basically, when my dinner is ready, I'm going to end, because I feel like this is such a big thing that I could overthink it, which is definitely a tendency of mine. So I'm going to go through quite quickly. I'm going to write some answers on sticky notes and stick them up there and see if something gels together. So the first one, why do you believe that home education is the best learning provision for your child? That's a big one. I'm going to go with the pace that we can have. We can slow things down. Freedom to learn what we want and how we want to, and the things that we believe are important. And yeah, that it can be individualized. This is when you'll possibly see all my spelling mistakes. So that's definitely question 1. Number 2, what values do you believe are important with regards to education, child development and learning? So that's a big question, but this is something that I have thought about before, and I love alliteration. So I do have, they all begin with C, statements. I'm sure some of you have heard me talk about this before, words that help sum that up for me. So something that I believe is really important for my kids' development is compassion, so that they learn to love with understanding and care for people with understanding. And there's a lot of skills that are needed in order to understand other people and other situations. So compassion definitely sums it up. Curiosity, that is especially a big one for my husband. The idea of asking why things happen, how things work, and to continually be learning. Creativity is a big one for us. Partly because of like how we express ourselves, creativity, but also kind of creative problem solving is something that I really want to see my kids develop. I want them to have the skills to tackle different problems, not just like a list of facts and figures and so on. I'm pretty sure there was another C and I can't remember it now. Compassion, curiosity, creativity. I do want them to have basic skills as well. So I think that is important, but it doesn't begin with C. Compassion, curiosity, and I want them to have, the basic skills to be able to, achieve change. I want my kids to be change makers. I'll put that on another one. I want them to be people that aren't content with the status quo, that aren't content with injustices and so on, and in whatever way is comfortable for them, to be change makers. And I think to do that, to make change, you have to have basic skills in order to collect information, to know how to share things effectively, all of that kind of stuff. They do need the basic skills to do that. So I'll stick that on. Question 3 is, how does your child like to learn and develop new skills? This is tricky because I've got 3 kids. Technically one is still below compulsory school age, but obviously he's a part of our family and a part of our home ed journey, so that is important for me to consider. And my children learn in different ways, but I think definitely they like to be active. They like experiences. They like to do it together. It's very hard to have like one do something different than the others because they all want to be in each other's business, I guess, and they have a big like FOMO that they won't get to do what the other person's doing. I do think my kids, they do seem to enjoy like being read to and me teaching them things, like proactively explaining things, or their dad doing that, or a TV show doing that, or listening to an expert when we've gone to different events. So I guess, I don't know how to put that. I put experts even though I'm not an expert, but that kind of idea, or maybe like mentoring. I think they like being alongside someone. Like we did some gardening recently and there was someone far more skilled than me there, and they really like just sitting with her and her explaining, and yeah, it is more of a mentoring relationship I think that they like. So yeah, definitely that. I think that sums up the things that are common with all of them, but there are some definite differences with how they learn. So that might be interesting when it comes to thinking of a mission statement for all of us. All right, next one. What does a perfect learning environment look like to you? Varied, I think. I'm going to just put that one because honestly it depends on the day and the context and so on. We're not big fans here of things being the same all the time, even down to like moving furniture around to wanting to be on a bus or a train or out in the city or whatever it is like that. Or obviously we like being out in nature as well. So I think a perfect learning environment for us is very varied. So question number 5 is an interesting one. How do your family values and culture influence your child's learning journey? This is something that I guess is going to be very personal, and there might be things that you've experienced personally that you don't want your children to have, or there might be religious beliefs that are going to guide that. So I don't actually share everything on the internet, so I'm not going to go through all of that right now because I think that does take a bit more time. But if I had to sum it up, I think I'm going to be saying community is really important to us, and making sure everyone has a safe and welcome community, no matter who they are, and asking questions, and yeah, being open and honest, I think would be important. And there's other stuff I think that would definitely speak into that, but I think that'll sum it up for now. Number 6 and 7 are similar. So they talk about short-term educational goals and long-term educational goals. And they don't say academic, which I think is important. So it talks about what would I want my kids to be able to do in 1 year's time that they find difficult now, and what would I like them to achieve by the end of their compulsory education journey. Obviously, I'm not going to share that because that's my kids' business. But for me, it's more likely to be things to do with emotions and character and that kind of thing. And in terms of like long-term educational goals, I don't give a monkeys if they get their GCSEs or even attempt to do it. I don't I obviously there are things that I wish for them, like I hope they love reading, I hope they get excited about history, and I hope they have particular interests that they dive into, but ultimately when they're 16, I want them to be happy and safe, because there are lots of 16-year-olds around the world that are very unlikely to be feeling happy and safe right now, so that definitely is a long-term goal. So then it says you can organise these in different ways, and it talks about having some specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and time-bound goals, and to highlight those. And then through that process, you're going to think about a mission statement that's personal to every home educating family, no longer than 5 sentences. I kind of thought I just wanted 1 sentence, to make sure it's concise, specific and focused. I am not sure that mine is going to be specific and focused, because I kind of like the idea of it being general enough to inform lots of different decisions. But I'm going to have a look now at what I've got up on the board and see what I come up with. I'm going to speed this bit up because this will be boring. Okay, so I think I've got something that will work well enough. I think what'll be interesting is having this kind of at the forefront, literally at the forefront of my plans. I've written it out in the very front of this planner, but having it at the forefront of my mind as I'm making decisions. I think it needs a trial to see if it works and to see if it actually is applicable. So I don't know, tune in next year and see if it worked. But this is what I've got. I'll have it on the screen as well. We hope to be a safe place to ask questions, make mistakes and grow together, to be compassionate, community-minded, creative change makers, and to have fun doing it. I purposely chose that word hope because we're not a business. This isn't about profit and successes and in a sense really very measurable things in terms of being able to prove it, I guess, to other people. And it is much more organic, and I thought the word hope summed that up and gave me a little bit more freedom to not feel driven by my own expectations. So to be a safe place, I think that's really important and has like meaning in all of it. Whatever my children decide to do, whoever they decide to be, that this is safe for them. To ask questions, so that covers a curiosity. And it also reminds me that I need to be a safe person to ask questions to, that I'm not too busy for them, that I'm not too quick to just give them easy answers, and that, they don't feel nervous of talking to me about things. And so that, I guess, goes back to that safe place, doesn't it? To ask questions, make mistakes. I think that's really important. And I wanted it in there because it's something that a few of us struggle with, so I wanted that as to be a really like a significant part of it. And grow together, so that kind of sums up a little bit of how we want to do it, that we want to do it together. To be compassionate, community minded, so I don't want what we do as home educators to just stay in our family. Even though those relationships are really important, I want it to spill out. And I've had people say to me that, you know, if you choose to home educate or homeschool, it's like you're removing yourself from the issues and problems of society. And I feel like it's the opposite for us, that this is a way for us to be more active in that. So I wanted to be reminded of that. Creative change makers, so that idea of solving problems and coming at things in a different way, and to me that means that it's going to be more skill based, our home education journey. because that's the only way that you can be a creative problem solver, is having different skills to draw on. And then I was trying to like the idea of being happy, and I wanted that to be in there, and I don't think it's like a twee or cliched thing. So I just put the end, and to have fun doing it. My kids are little and this should be fun for them. And it doesn't mean that it's always going to be this magical, happy process, because we're a family, and whether you're in school or not, there are going to be highs and lows and ups and downs. But I want us to have fun. Like, I want them to look back on this time and see it as something fun, and to have specific memories that they can look back to, like, remember when we did this, remember when we did that. But also just for our days to have laughter in it. That does sound really twee and cliched, but it's true. Like, I want my kids to laugh during the day. I want to be reminded to laugh, and as well at the mistakes, at the fun things that we're doing. And yes, I thought adding that at the end would be a good reminder to me to not take myself too seriously in all of this. I am really curious as to what you come up with. Definitely share it in our Facebook group, or put it as a comment below if you're willing to, or if you feel comfortable doing so. It's definitely been an interesting process. I think if you've done a bit of thinking about this before, then I would definitely set a time limit so that you're not just kind of going around in circles. If it's something that you've never really thought about, I would, if it's at all possible, carve out some time to like go on a walk, go to a coffee shop, go in the bath, whatever it is that helps you to just switch off and think through some of those questions, chat through them with other people that are involved with your family, and I guess chatting through with your kids as well will be really important. So I think I'm going to share this with my children tomorrow and see what they think of it. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. If you made it to the end, well done. And yeah, I really enjoyed this process. I think it's been really helpful, so definitely have a go. I'll see you next time.